We hear a lot about open banking, open systems and embedded finance. What does that actually mean for businesses that recruit and place contractors, consultants and freelancers?
So the key here is openness and open systems. And what that means is a system opens up its internal capabilities for integration into other systems. If you contrast this with closed systems, they have limited entry and exit points. So they may have modules that can be used internally that are very difficult to integrate with flexibly. So what is happening with open banking and banking as a service is that these are initiatives that try to open what have traditionally been closed systems. And they allow fintech companies like Sonovate to embed banking capabilities into our technology, where our technology will further specialize that for the workforce supply chain, and that in turn can be embedded into partner systems.
You ran a survey that showed more than half of UK businesses are already seeing a greater proportion of their workforce becoming freelance-based. Sonovate is a big believer in the flexible future of work. How are companies like yours supporting all this flexibility?
So we have a long-established history of providing innovative products and solutions to the market. And in meeting the demand for flexibility, we have to recognise that supply chains can become quite complex in nature across a number of dimensions. This may be the number of parties involved, including umbrellas, RPOs, MSPs, consultancies. It may be recognising that our customers are placing overseas and dealing with a number of different geographies and territories, but also recognising that the industries themselves can be either fairly stable with sort of long-running placements with good advance warning, or very dynamic in nature, where placements or gigs can be hourly or daily with variable rates. And we have to address the demands of all of those concerns.
What does the funding technology of the future look like?
So it's actually a funding stack that is a layer of technologies that allow us to provide asset financing as a service. So at the base is the data service, where we basically do reporting and AI. On top of that are foundational services. So these are sort of core services that allow us to do fairly standard things like identity management, which is authorization, authentication, but for us specifically making sure that we understand as a system of record all of the participants in the supply chain. On top of that, we then have risk services to perform financial crime, credit and operational risk assessments. On top of that, we have financing, so we can classify and profile the various assets that are tendered for financing. Then payment services, where we embed the banking and payment services from other companies and expose those. And finally, debt management services, where we provide collections, cash allocation, financial reporting and reconciliation.
You mentioned integration. Essentially, this will be an ecosystem that supports the recruitment and contractor placement sectors. Talk us through some of the different technologies in the workforce supply chain, and what are the needs that bring these together?
Firstly, there are base systems that most companies will need to think about. So this could be global EOR or employment of record systems that help make sure that workers are compliant from an employment law and tax law perspective. We then have like electronic signing software where documents can be sent for digital signature. IDV, identification verification, so workers can be identified through sort of biometric technologies. Then accounts receivable, making sure that the accounts receivable and the payables are all in synchronization with what's going on. And then we've got specific technologies for different segments. So recruitment agencies will have CRM and ATS systems to track applicants through the placement process. Temp agencies will have workforce management or WFM systems to help them place shift workers into complex shift patterns. Consultancies will have project management systems because they're doing project work with statement of work invoices. Human cloud, specifically online staffing platforms or labour marketplaces, will need APIs from us to actually connect into our funding. You've got umbrellas with IR35 compliant payroll systems, you've got RPOs with VMS systems, and even the end client you might have to connect into their accounts payable or their time and attendance. And it is therefore a very complicated but not necessarily complex network, as you can understand, but it's very well understood in terms of the inputs and outputs. The key is just making sure that the technologies that are selected are open so that they can be integrated in this complex ecosystem.
So what role does data and artificial intelligence play in all of this?
Data is key to driving insights and AI. And it can seem rather esoteric when described from a technology perspective. So the industry invites us to make sense of it in terms of business capabilities. And here you can think about it in three ways. Firstly, robotic process automation, or RPA, which is concerned with automating business processes. So this can range from the mundane, just sort of very simply processing emails automatically, through to the arcane, so taking those emails, detaching the content, doing semantic analysis on it and passing it downstream. The second area is cognitive analytics, and this is the area concerned with building sort of predictive models. There's this data science and machine learning. So examples here would be sort of credit decisioning, credit rating. You can look at sort of worker performance, agency performance, cash flow forecasting, that sort of thing. And finally, cognitive engagement. And cognitive engagement is where we think about how we engage with customers and workers in sort of a contact center type setting. So examples here would be conversational AI, speech analytics, topic spotting, all of which help us engage with our customers and workers more effectively.
What does the future look like?
Given what Sonovate does, I think of it more as three futures. The future of work, the future of finance, and the future of technology. Work, as we know, will continue to evolve as the traditional job paradigm gets challenged by workers demanding ever more flexibility, sort of global work opportunities, and the equalisation of employment rights across employment status. The future of finance, we will see more financial services in that market, partly driven by the market itself demanding those services, but also aided by new standards such as open finance. And finally, the future of technology is all about AI, where we will see more personal services being driven by AI, and therefore needing platforms and open APIs such as we're providing.
Okay, Tim Edwards, many thanks for joining us. Thank you.